Posted by you/Yusarina. We sold our haunted house. We sold our house because I think it's haunted. I've written about this before but in the wrong subreddit which was deleted. It was titled Bathroom Double Take, where I described a doppelganger-like situation with my husband. So if anyone had read about that experience and is now on this post, this is an update. After a few months of us living in this home, in which we plan to use as our second home, we have decided to sell it after some unusual experiences. Our real estate salesperson and the person who bought our home are aware of my claims and have made an informed decision to purchase this home despite my claims. They probably think I am a nut lol. The home is not an old one, it was built in 2019 and we are the third owners. We have gotten an air quality test done in the home, both my husband and I have gotten physical examinations and nothing out of the ordinary has come out of these tests. Now I will get into my experience. We bought our winter home last year in June of 2021. Originally we are from Canada but we have spent the majority of the pandemic between the USA and recently Costa Rica. My first experience was while I was taking a shower. The house has an ensuite washroom. When you enter the room, if you go to the left you will go towards the bathroom, if you go to the right you will end up in the bedroom. From the shower, you can see the entrance to the bedroom. One afternoon while I was showering I watched my half-naked husband walk into the bedroom with a glass of lemonade. I then turned around to wash the soap off my face and then turned back toward the door to rinse the shampoo out of my hair. This is when I saw my half-naked husband enter the bedroom again with the lemonade. When I exited the shower I asked my husband if he re-entered the room a couple of times and he said he only came into the bedroom once and has been there for the majority of my shower. My husband had a similar experience. He was in the backyard looking into the kitchen. He claimed he saw me leave the kitchen and walk towards the mudroom. He was very confused when he entered the house to find it empty, only to find out I had been out for a couple of hours. On multiple occasions, I've heard the sound of my husband's car dragging on the driveway. We have the steepest driveway on the block. Every time he parks in the garage you hear the distinct sound of the bottom of the car scraping the driveway. When I hear this, I usually unlock the garage door. There have been multiple times where I've heard this sound, unlock the door just to find out he isn't home. We've both heard unexplainable whistling sounds that stop once we acknowledge the sound. I guess it could just be the vents, but for 3 days last week our thermostat stopped working and we still heard the whistling. There have been other trivial occurrences. I once woke up in the middle of the night because the fridge door alarm was going off. We have those annoying automatic toilets where the lid lifts when it detects motion. Well, those open on their own sometimes. I understand with modern upgrades there are going to be malfunctioning, so I put those experiences under the questionable category. So we've spent the past week packing our things. We are those psychopaths that do not store anything in our garage other than our vehicles. The only other thing that is found in the garage is the water softener tank, that's it. So one lovely night the car alarm goes off on both vehicles. Convinced that we are being robbed we call the police, and of course, the neighborhood security also comes by just to see that our cars are perfectly in the garage with no signs of an intruder. We officially moved out of the house 3 days before closing. We could not bear another day there, and our neighbor texted me to ask what all the commotion was at our house. I have no idea what she is talking about because we moved out. I may sound like a kook, but we've lived in so many houses and we've never experienced anything like this. Posted by you/death. Fur. What's your scariest paranormal experience? I'll go first. I was with one of my buddies and her dogs in a trail/park by her house. It's a relatively normal place, nothing bad has really happened. I look over my shoulder because it sounds like someone walking, and me being curious I looked. To see a white almost cartoony dog standing straight on its back, 2 legs walking. No people around and no leash except a purple collar. Her dogs start barking and growling at nothing. I tell her what I saw and we left at a panic. I was too uncomfortable and uneasy to leave her house that night and stayed over. The dogs wouldn't stop staring out the window in the direction of the park. Later we figured out that more people have had sightings of skinwalkers in our area. We haven't been there since. Posted by you/Mersquidward420. House I was dogsitting, it may be haunted, probably not. I'll try to keep this on the shorter side. Typing on iPhone sucks, but from Thursday to Monday I was dogsitting for my neighbors. And I encountered some pretty scary s. Thursday, neighbors leave, I stay over from 10 p.m. until 12 a.m. to watch the dogs. I hear thumping coming from upstairs. I FaceTime my friend to calm myself down. As soon as I do that, the thumping stops. A few minutes and my phone disconnects from the AT&T tower for no reason. So I let the dogs out and restart my phone. I see a light flicker upstairs. I just ignore it as electrical issues. Nothing else happens. Friday, I go over to the house, nothing happens until I go over there at 10 p.m. until midnight again. I hear this very low, almost eerie sound coming to the left of me. There's nothing there. Then I hear thumping. The dogs also are whining at this one closed door. And I swear in my side vision I see something dart to the side into an open door. I immediately go downstairs, and just spend the rest of the time downstairs. Saturday, it's nighttime, and dogs are whining and barking at this closed door. I go downstairs with the dogs and hear a rush of thumps. The dogs are laying down. I did not stay any more nights there, only days. Posted by you/a4more. Raggedy and doll. As a super small child, I used to be terrified of a doll my grandmother had that had been handmade for my mother when she was younger. I literally had repeating nightmares where this thing came to visit me for most of my childhood and even occasionally as a teenager/adult. The last time I was around it physically was shortly after my grandmother died, and I still felt uneasy looking directly at it even at 25 years old. My mom sold it during an estate sale to a woman in the town where my grandmother died, and it's lost as far as I know. I had always written off this phobia as just some weird irrational childhood fear because Raggedy and dolls are creepy as hell looking, especially when they're homemade, and assumed it was normal, but the hold this doll had on me that made me feel as if it was staring into the depths of my soul constantly. Then something crazy happened. The Conjuring movies came out, and after doing research I discovered the real-life version of the Annabelle doll matched the Raggedy Ann version my grandmother had almost perfectly. I know most of this is just a coincidence, but I have always felt that something was off about this doll. It harbored bad energy. Oddly enough, after all of this I have inquired about this doll to my mother because I feel I have this weird connection to it. She told me she never kept it in the house around me when I was younger because I always cried and became hysterical at night when it was around, so she gave it to my grandmother. I'm just imagining me finding this thing, then driving it home in the middle of the night and crazy shit starts happening. For the record, I do not believe in ghosts or spirits, but I will go to my grave saying I picked up on something evil from this doll as a kid. I really wish I had a picture to share, but I honestly avoided this thing as much as possible and always felt it was looking at me from around a corner at night. Did anyone else experience something as a kid that you knew just wasn't right? This probably sounds dumb, but I honestly believe something was going on and my younger self picked up on it. Posted by you/Sherlockian96. Dying patients see dead relatives/children. Hi everyone. I'm a nursing student, F25, Ida, and during my residency I've had the same odd and creepy experience more than I would have liked to have. I don't know if it's a normal thing or if some of you might have a scientifically accurate explanation, or a medical one, but a lot of the patients I take care of, especially the elders, talk about seeing their dead relatives, e.g. parents, siblings, dead lovers and/or unknown kids besides their beds. This can happen during both day and night, at any given time. What's so strange is that in max 1 to 2 weeks after the apparitions these patients pass away. I tried talking about this with my nurse teacher and asked for some explanation, but all she said it's that those are their relatives comforting and preparing them for death. The children are considered benevolent spirit who serve the same purpose. I'm a bit of a medium, or a psych you want, and always have an eerie feeling when this happens. I can actually feel or see ghosts. It depends on their energy levels and their will to be seen, but I always fail to share the same visions as my patients. Has anyone experienced this kind of thing or have a possible explanation? Posted by you/VarietyBones. The old lady sitting there. I was at my aunt's house in 2003, decided to spend the night and hang out with my cousins and all. My aunt lived in a house built around about the 1930s, or thereabout. The day was normal, watching movies, talking nonsense, all that cool teenage stuff you do when life feels carefree. Fast forward to night and everyone goes off to bed. I was just hitting the couch that night, and was still up watching TV and texting my girlfriend. The couch I was sitting on was centered in the living room, so you could walk around it. The living room itself was quite large with a high ceiling and chandelier in the middle. I remember my girlfriend saying she was going to brush her teeth before bed, so I started to play games on my phone while waiting for her to text me back. In that time I dozed off, but woke up what seemed like minutes later still holding my phone in front of me. TV was still on, but I could see a faint reflection in the screen of my phone of an old woman standing behind me. I instantly turned to look, but there was nothing there. I felt uneasy and ended up going to my cousin's room and making up some lie about feeling sick and basically crashing on her floor. I woke up the following morning and thought I must have been overtired and letting my imagination get the better of me. I was still lying in my makeshift bed while everyone else was still asleep. I needed to use the toilet, so I got up and walked out of the room, and in the corner of my eye I saw someone sitting in the armchair in the living room. I immediately turned to look, but this time I saw this lady sitting there in the armchair staring blankly ahead, not noticing me looking. I remember her clear as day, old, 85 to 90 years old, short white hair, in a cream-colored dressing gown with slippers, and the most expressionless stare into nothing. I went straight to my cousin and woke her. She was irritated and told me to stop playing games with her, but when I went to look again, the lady was gone. About an hour or so passed and I heard my aunt awake making coffee. I went and told her what I saw. She said she had seen her too. My cousins had not though, but the fact my aunt and I had seen her creeped them out. Now this is the part that gets really weird. Fast forward about 5 years, my aunt had moved out and was living elsewhere, and that house became a distant memory. I was visiting my dad's place on the weekend and we were talking about paranormal things, and I mentioned to my stepmother about the lady I saw. Her eyes widened immediately. She said it sounds very familiar to what she had experienced in a house she lived in growing up. I mentioned the suburb and she said the street. It was the same house. My stepmother, her older brother and her mother all described what I saw. It was insane. The creepy thing is, my aunt is my mother's sister and doesn't know my stepmother at all. I drove down that street recently, but the house has been knocked down. I wonder what happened to that lady, who she was, what she was after. She didn't seem evil. My aunt even said she could feel someone brushing her gently while she slept in the house. Maybe she was just lonely. Posted by you/do relation 4920. The World War II friendly ghost Aviator. Hi there, this is my first post ever. I'd like to share this experience I had when I was a child, like 3 or 4 I guess. Just for context, my story took place in Italy, where the 8th Army of the then British Empire was deployed, Adriatic Front. I was at my grandparents' house, quite an old one where almost all of my relatives witnessed weird stuff. One day I was playing on the ground and I saw a man approaching me, dressed with what later in life I recognized to be a full RAF uniform, usually worn by pilots. This man kindly smiled and told me to go with him. Next thing I know, I was looking down from a World War II bomber airplane. To be specific, I was looking through the round window on the bottom of the plane. I could see the fields we were flying on top of, like in old wartime pictures. He pointed at it and said, "This is how we dropped bombs back then. I used to drop bombs this way." I don't remember exactly what happened next, but I guess I just went back to play. I just want to say that when I write I saw him or he told me, it's not like actual talking or seeing. It was more what you'd describe like a transcendental experience or an extremely lucid dream. Yet everything seemed to be very normal, just like a casual conversation with someone. Also, he wasn't scary at all. I just remember him to be super chill and friendly. I felt like he meant absolutely no harm. I don't know if my description of the event is clear. I felt like sharing it and possibly have some interesting replies from people who might have had experienced something similar. Please be kind. English is not my first language. Have a great day you all. Posted by you/killaninja. Lady in the road. This happened almost 10 years ago, but I will never forget this experience. One night, probably around 2 a.m., I was driving home alone after a big thunderstorm. I was very tired and sober that night, making the experience even more convincing of what I saw. I lived across the street from a lake that doesn't have any houses on the shoreline because it was a protected lake and the only lights were my car's headlights and an occasional street light. Anyway, I was almost home, going around a curve in the road that went right along the lake when I see a young woman standing in the middle of the road, staring towards the lake, wearing just a nightgown skirt thing, I'd what to call it. My initial thought was she was just fucked up, tripping balls or having some mental episode, as there was a small neighborhood nearby. As I drove closer, I was going to ask if she was alright when I realized something strange. This is when I started thinking, what the actual fuck? After my headlights panned off her extremely pale skin, she was glowing. I slowly approached her in my car, windows up. I assure you, she didn't move a muscle. As I drove by just a few feet away, I got a good look at her face. She was quite beautiful, as I recall, but had absolutely no expression. Just a blank stare into the darkness of the lake. I kept my eyes on her as long as I could while going by, and she was still illuminated, even though there was no street lights around, and she didn't seem solid. When I passed, I looked in my rear view mirror and she was gone. I put the pedal to the metal and raced home.